All right, what's going on, everyone? So, in this video, I'm going to be giving you a full rundown of how to build out an SMS AI sales agent or AI appointment setter to book all your leads onto sales calls. So, bear with me because I'm going to be building everything out from scratch. So, there's absolutely no confusion on how everything works. And just to kind of show you a little bit of, proof behind the concept of what we're going for. So, one, this is how I do a lot of my service delivery for my clients as far as how we construct their lead nurture systems using AI. So, just to kind of show you one of the pipelines that my AI is synced up to. So when a new lead comes through our pipeline, they'll be updated as new lead. And I have a wait stage before the AI reaches out just to see if the lead books in on their own autonomy through our funnel. If they don't, then the AI will reach out and it'll continue to send follow ups and essentially try to spark a conversation with the lead. Once the lead replies, then they'll be updated to talking with AI. If they make it far enough in conversation flow to where the AI actually proposes the sales call, they'll be updated to call proposed. And then finally, appointment booked. And then this last section here is just kind of like a dead bank of leads, people that were destined to never reply. See, we have some fucker right here that just said bullshit because, funnel hackers are a real thing. It's just part of doing business sometimes when you're running ads online. Anyways, without further ado, let's jump into it. So, the stack you're going to need in order to pull this off is first, you're going to need a GoHighLevel account. Second, you're going to need a make.com account. Third, you're going to need a OpenAI account, a platform.openai account specifically. So this is where the assistant brain will be hosted within platform.openai. Make.com is essentially going to be our third-party middleman. And the reason we don't use the internal AI agent tool within GoHighLevel is because one, they white label the AI. So for every 1 cent you should be paying for the cost per message generated, you end up paying 3 or 4 cents. On top of that, it's very limited. And especially if we're trying to get techie with things, we want to have as much autonomy with our build as possible. So building it using make.com to help complement some of the GoHighLevel automations makes it so we have the best AI possible and more importantly, the cheapest one on the market as far as our cost per message generated. So we can keep our profit margins high, or if you're building this up for a client, you can even have that as a selling point. The fact that this is a very affordable, cost friendly solution. So we're literally just going to create a demo workflow. We're going to build this out from scratch, or we'll say demo SMS AI sales agent. So there's going to be a few different workflows we're going to include. I'm going to keep things very general and basic for you guys, just so everyone's able to fully follow along. And then a little towards the end of this video, I'll show you how you can then grow upon it and make something super advanced. Because usually when I'm setting up client builds, they can kind of spiral and get crazy and technical and whatnot. Anyway, so we're just going to start a new automation from scratch. So we're going to call this, and feel free to do the same naming conventions, SMS opt-in example. I'm just saying example so I know for later. Let's say a lead is coming through your funnel, for instance. This is where the trigger needs to go. Now, especially if you're in the US, but this applies for a lot of other countries as well, you cannot do cold calling, you cannot do cold texting with AI or with any automated software. In fact, if you even attempt to do it through GoHighLevel, eventually you'll just get your phone number banned. So I don't recommend it. And if you're looking to do this for a client, that's an easy way to get them sued or to get them racked up with fines. So don't even fuck with that. So when we talk about today, when we talk about using this SMS AI appointment setter, it's going to be for inbound traffic or traffic that's opted into something. So it doesn't even have to just be from ads. It could be from an organic stream, but it's somewhere where we data collected them and they explicitly gave consent, usually by checking a box for our terms and conditions, privacy policy, all that good stuff. And if you're new to GoHighLevel and you haven't even set up an A2P phone number yet, I'll go ahead and leave a link to a video right here, right now, which shows you how to get A2P verified so that you can then begin to build out your AI appointment setter on SMS channel. Anyways, for the sake of this example, let's say a lead came from one of your lead forms. So we'll do form and then you'll know your form. So form is, I'm literally just going to choose a random one because it doesn't really matter for right now. So form submitted, and then we'll put, so I'm doing an if else statement and it may not make sense immediately, but you'll understand why towards the end once we actually get to the call booking thing. But I usually don't like my AI to reach out in an introductory style if this lead is already booked in before. Maybe they're just coming through one of our funnels again, in which we can hit them with more appropriate wording. So we'll say new lead, and then we'll make sure that the tag does not include lead booked. And then usually when I book in appointments, I give them this tag. So this guarantees we've got a fresh lead in our pipeline, right? Now, when it comes to sending out text messages, so going back to the pipeline I showed you guys where there's going to be a phase where the AI reaches out, it's a waste of money and honestly a waste of being able to accurately track things if you have this off the bat being AI driven. Why? Because the AI will have variable responses, meaning they're not always going to be like the same consistent response. I mean, I guess technically you could set it up to where it like strictly hard codes that first response and text it out, but it's just like way more work than we need to do when we can easily just have GoHighLevel send this initial message off, right? So mind you, this lead just came from the funnel, so this copy is going to depict that accordingly. So we're going to say, hey, contact first name. I'm just going to kind of go straight forward to this copy. Thanks for sh- showing your interest in X offer. A team member will reach out shortly. So the reason we're saying this, guys, is because we want the leads to truly feel like they're talking to a human. This is going to go so far as sales rapport is concerned, right? So as soon as they opt in, they're instantly going to get hit with this text message. The reason why is because this message is unfortunately going to have a hideous reply stop associated with it. It'll look like this: stop to unsubscribe. And you don't have to add this. GoHighLevel is going to automatically append this reply stop BS to it. If you do want to space it out, I recommend adding a little dash here. Otherwise, when you actually shoot this off to a lead, this is how it'll look, right? So I usually add a space, a dash, something like that, just to kind of break it up. But so this is kind of the shoe in the door now. It gets rid of that nasty reply stop so that every message we subsequently send after is going to really seem like it's a human texting, right? So we'll put a wait stage. I always do odd numbers with my wait stages, so it's never a perfect time interval. Like never do 10 minutes, for instance, because it's so obvious. So that being said, let's go with 9 for today. So after 9 minutes, the lead still hasn't booked in at this point, mind you, because if they do, and I'll show you how we're going to do it way later in this video as far as the appointment actually getting booked, we're going to need to pull them out of the workflow. And so they won't even be subject to receiving any following messages. But let's say the lead is not booked in because they're still stuck in this workflow. This is when the AI can introduce themselves. Be like, hi, contact first name. This is Scott. I wanted to personally reach out and introduce myself. What has you interested in X offer? Happy to clarify anything or answer any questions. Mouth watering offer or leading question to invoke reply. Okay, so you can literally say something like this, and this last part, mouth-watering offer or leading question to invoke reply. This is going to be variable. Like you can say something like, by the way, like we guarantee 30 sales calls, or hey, by the way, like if you're looking for a system that can converse with all your leads, this is it. Just to kind of get them to reply. And so from this point on, the whole existence of this workflow after the fact is going to be to continue to follow up with that lead. And if they reply, cool, we'll pull them out. If they don't, then we're going to continue to hit them with messages. Now, one more thing we are going to quickly set up, guys, before we move on. It's going to be called, actually, there's two things. So, first, we're going to add a tag. In this tag, I'm going to continue to refer to it as a passkey. And the reason why, especially once you start to set up a ton of automations in your account, you need everything to be organized. And if you don't have any sort of methodology to organize things, automations could start firing and crossing each other, and it just makes for a shitty flow, right? So that being said, we're going to go tag, and we're going to click you name it, whatever you want. I'm going to do example tag, and this is going to be my passkey tag that passes to and fro. In fact, just in case example tag is already appended to something else, example YouTube tag. I have a billion tags in here, so it doesn't matter. Okay, example YouTube tag. So this is not going to be my passkey for this entire video I'm going to use, meaning for every other automation we do after this, the contact has to have that tag in order to appropriately pass through things, and it's going to make things very clean. The next thing we're going to do is add some context. So we do this with a contact field. Now, I know I said this can be a beginner video, so I want to make sure everyone's fully in the loop. So before I even get to the custom field, I want to show you where to go to create that initial custom field because you have to create it ahead of time within settings. So you're going to go to settings. You're going to go to custom fields. And now that I think about it, we might as well just go ahead and get this out of the way. There's a few different custom fields we're actually going to need, guys. So we're going to go ahead and set all those up right now together on this video. Okay, so literally just click add field, multi-line, and then continue. So field name, we'll call this first one AI context. And then I'm gonna have to do example just because that already exists for me, but you just follow along with this. So AI context example, it doesn't really matter where you group it. I'm honestly just gonna group it in like survey 4, honestly, just so it's out of the way for my normal stuff for the sake of this video, right? So AI context example, that's gonna be first one. Next, we're gonna add something called user reply. User reply example. Now, this user reply example, we're gonna go ahead and add survey 4 to it. This user reply example is gonna be anytime the user replies, we have to append it to this specific custom field. So when we pitch it off to make.com, it continues to send a fresh payload of the substance of the message so that we're able to go back and forth, right? Okay, and then lastly, what we're gonna need is AI replying back. So we're gonna go AI reply to lead example, right? And so what this is going to do is when we're on make.com and OpenAI, AI will generate the response for the lead. And so it'll then paste that response onto this custom field. And this is the driver that we can actually pitch the response off to the lead. That's all you need to know for right now. Those are the 3 different custom fields, and we will be good to go with this build. Without further ado, let's go and hop back into our 1.1 section of SMS and we'll continue on. Okay, so within this flow now, so we just added that context. Okay, so we're gonna click update contact field. Now we remember we just created that AI context example, so just hot search for that AI context example. So within here, this is the context we're gonna continue to feed to the AI. This is gonna be such a crucial part in this build. You cannot fade. So we're gonna say here, I'm gonna pull out a text box just so you guys understand what I'm gonna be typing. Okay, so we're gonna say something like this. This lead just opted in, interested in X offer. The following hard-coded message was already sent to the lead. So do not greet them, simply jump in and continue the conversation. And now, literally for every single SMS hard-coded message, we have to feed it to this context. So here, I'll just put this for now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go in here, we're gonna copy this and we are going to put parentheses or not parentheses, quotations, and then add that. Now, this is like a super pro tip that a lot of people don't understand, but when you set up AI builds, for some reason, AI knowledge bases love, if they get fed the contact name, they love to continue to reiterate the name in a lot of replies. It makes for a hideous conversation flow. So, throughout any of our contexts, we never want to let AI know the lead's name. And trust me, this isn't going to be detrimental because these initial hard-coded messages still specify the name. So the lead still thinks we know their name, but the AI doesn't necessarily need to know that. All that to say, remove contact first name because when we translate that over, it won't just say contact first name anymore. It'll say like Jimmy John or whatever the hell the person's name is, right? So we're going to copy that message. We're going to come back in here. Now, mind you, the wait stage happened. So we're only specifying what's happened so far. And that's because if there is a chance where the lead does jump in and have a conversation before that 9 minutes, the AI is technically still there. And then what we can do, copy action, and we can paste action. And then here, what we're going to do now is we're going to copy this additional message and we're literally going to append it. And we're just going to say the quotation and quotation again. Like I said before, let's go and remove contact first name. So all that's left is this good stuff. Boom, quote, and then copy that, and then go back in here, paste that. Boom, we're good. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm gonna set up 2 different follow-ups, but if you can imagine, you could set up infinite follow-ups with, like, the structure I'll show you. And I'll show just so first we're gonna build it out, and then I'm gonna show you how you can literally just copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is add the wait stage. So instead of time delay, we're gonna switch it to contact reply. And reply to so I know just because I know how to build these, it's sequential order, but for the sake of, again, I wanna make sure this is very simple for you guys. You need to specify the names just so it's easier to call upon them if you don't know what you're doing. So we'll say 1, we'll say 2. So it's if they reply to 2, then we'll pull them out of this workflow. They're no longer subject to receiving any of the messages that follow, right? So if contact reply to 2, then we'll pull them out. And so if you can imagine, usually people will put like 3 days. We're going to do a 3-day trigger. However, you never want to do 3 days because again, we don't want them to know our next move. And it's gonna be really obvious if like 2:15 this day, SMS2 got sent out, and then 2:15 3 days later, the same. It's so obvious it's an automation. Hell, even with hours, it can be suspicious because that minute time interval is still fixed. So let's go with minutes. And now I said 3 days. So check this out. So let's say 72 hours, that's 3 days, times 60 minutes. Oh shit, times 60 minutes. So 4,320. Now we're not going to do a perfect time interval, so we'll do 4,333. So it's a little more than 3 days, but the idea is like they'll never know our next move, right? That's going to be the idea behind this. Now, if you really want to take this to the next level, just to make sure we're not pissing people off or texting them outside of normal business hours, you can even set up a point zero, and then it's essentially a filter just to make sure we're not hitting them up at the crack of dawn. Because when you do like a kind of variable time interval, that could happen whenever. We want to make sure that we're not, messaging them at 3 a.m. or something like that, depending on the time that you have set up. Anyway, so 7:15, and then we'll say maybe like I don't know 5:30, right? So this is literally just a quick scan. So assuming that the contact is assuming based on the time zone, it's within this time frame, it's just going to automatically shoot off. Like it's going to go off instantaneously. But if it doesn't, it's going to wait in limbo until 7:45 is here, basically. All right. So contact reply, we're going to pull them out of this conversation flow. And then you can update the pipeline if you would like. That's actually something that we need to set up real quick. So I'm going to show you quickly how to set up a pipeline. Sorry for getting ahead of myself again. I'm doing this off the dome, but here's what we're going to do. So we're going to go into opportunities. We're going to go into pipelines, and I'm just going to quickly show you how you could build one out. So create pipeline. It's literally as easy as writing in the information. I swear. So new lead, and then you could say like AI reached out, and you could say talking with AI. You could call this appointment booked, and you could do like call proposed if the AI drops that booking link. So we'll say call proposed. So this is now exactly how I showed you how my pipeline was set up. I'm not going to save this. We're just going to piggyback on mine, but you guys that are watching, go ahead and do this part. Name it whatever, create it, and then you'll be able to tap into that throughout your entire build that we're going to be doing together. Okay, cool. So that being said, actually, within the new lead, within your opportunity section, guys, so tap into that new pipeline you guys just made and call them a new lead, or hell, you can honestly also set it immediately to AI reached out. So for my personal flow, instead of having an immediate introductory, it's simply just a wait stage. And then after wait stage satisfied, the AI reaches out. So that's why I have it differentiated. But for the sake of this example, you can get away with just like AI reached out because that's what's immediately happening is, we're actually outreaching them. Or, if you wanted to really be specific, since this message is technically like, very hard coded, that's where the reply stop one is. You could say this part's new lead and then have a new create update opportunity after that wait stage is met and where the AI reaches out and introduces itself. Anyways, so going back over here, let's say the contact does indeed reply to our second message. We're going to build out a new workflow to actually have that conversation with the lead, but we simply just want to track the fact that we're now actively talking with the lead. The AI is talking with the lead. The lead is talking with the AI. That's what all that means. Save that. So now, assuming 4,333 minutes was met and the lead never replied, now we'll go into SMS 3, and this will be follow up 1. Just follow up with the guys, right? Now, this is where it gets really pump and dump as far as continuing follow-ups. I want you guys to do copy all actions from here. We're gonna paste that exactly right here. And so this basically means now, you can continue it on. So if the lead replies to SMS 3, okay, cool. Then we'll pull them out of this workflow. We still update talking with AI. But if they don't, you can re-edit the time interval to whatever the hell you want, and then it'll push them through. The only thing you have to do, so for this wait stage, we need to call the appropriate message. Otherwise, so it's saying SMS2 because we just duplicated it. Scrap that. Updated SMS3. Again, it goes in sequential order. There's 3 here because it's this one, but we'll change that to 4 in a second. But yeah, SMS3, save that. And we'll call this one SMS4. And this is follow up too, guys, right? I said I was only going to do a couple, but check this out. If you wanted to like really, expand this thing, copy all actions from here. So I just copied these last 2 follow ups. So I'm now going to make like a massive follow up train essentially. So this is SMS5 now. And then this is follow up 3. And then this would be SMS 6, follow up 4. Boom. Okay, cool. So now check this out. So SMS 3, we're calling that one. For SMS 4, we need to update this. So we're calling SMS 4. For SMS 5, update this. So we're calling SMS 5. And Boom, we're good to go. And so if you remember, guys, how I had a retirement section, which literally said like no reply after follow-ups. So here's how you kind of end off the tail of this follow-up sequence when we decide we were going to retire that lead. Either they're a shit lead or they just literally never replied to us. This is a back-end internal one. I literally just pulled a time delay for the sake of efficiency. So we're going to put days because this is internal. So the leads won't see this. Let's say 5 days. So we're going to wait 5 days after that follow-up 4 gets sent. If the leads still aren't responding to us, it's likely time to retire them in our pipeline. Now, I didn't show this, but literally just add a section in your pipeline saying no response after follow-ups. Save that, and now you have your retirement section. So the reason this is nice is because over time you're going to get a lot of leads that come through, and it just essentially makes your pipeline and data look a lot cleaner. But that is our entire opt-in. Now, everything else we're going to do is going to be a lot more AI driven. We're finally going to get into some make.com stuff as well. We're going to go ahead and save this. And I'm actually going to remove this trigger for now just because I have something that's associated with this that's like literally live. But you guys keep your trigger, of course. Don't worry about that. We're going to test this workflow anyway, meaning we're going to manually toss leads into this or contacts into this. So we're going to be fine. Okay, cool. So now we're going to set up a 1.2 workflow. I like to work off numbers when I'm setting up things for organizations. So we're saying 1.2 contact replied, right? And so you're going to go into add trigger and we're going to say replied. So customer replied. What did they reply to? They replied to reply channel SMS. So it's going to be linked to your phone number and has tag. This is our passkey tag, guys. What did we call it? We called it example something. Example YouTube tag. So they have that passkey. So this means that like this workflow will only listen to leads that have this passkey that also happen to be messaging us, right? So cool. We've now got that reply from the lead. We got that one reply from the lead. We now need to load that onto a custom field. And then eventually we need to go pitch it off to make.com. So custom field. And then we're going to do, or we got to actually type it in. So what was it? Contact. I'm going to type an example. There we go. So user reply example, right? And then in here, this is going to be a variable field because, sometimes people are going to be texting us like a whole paragraph. Other times it could be a one-word response. So we have to set a hard-coded variable here. So what we're going to do is go to message, and then you're going to click on message body. And this is the substance of the most recent message. So this one is ever changing. Message body, that's all we need there. Boom. And then from there, what we can do is immediately we're going to create a webhook node. And this is going to send things off to GoHighLevel. Or sorry, this is going to send things off to make.com. So keep everything as is. We'll put placeholder.com for now, just so I can save this workflow before I move on. We're now going to move over to make.com, guys. So go into your scenarios. You could even do this on a trial account, so don't feel like you need to immediately put up money. Although once you start actually getting things cooking, just get the basic plan. It's literally $10 a month. It's dirt cheap. It's all you're really going to need to set this up. So we're going to click create scenario. First things first, custom webhook. That's what we're looking for here. Okay, so unless you have one, let's go ahead and build one from scratch. So we'll say YouTube example webhook. And this is going to be the API call that has the conversation back and forth between make.com and GoHighLevel. If you don't know what an API is, essentially it just allows different platforms to communicate with one another, right? That's all you need to know. So we're going to click copy address to clipboard. We're going to go back to our webhook section and we are going to paste that mama there and we're going to save that, publish this, save that. Now, at this point, guys, what we have created within our 1.1 and 1.2 sections, super straightforward. 1.1, we're indoctrinating the lead. We're having that initial conversation, hard-coded messages. If the lead replies, we are collecting that reply and we're pitching it off to AI. So at this point, every single message that will take place is entirely AI driven. Honestly, technically speaking, another thing you can do just to make sure you're covering all your bases. I know initially I said you can do this in the appointment booked section, is like remove them from previous workflows, but just to be safe, you could also add a remove from workflow and then another workflow, and then make sure that we're pulling them out of that 1.1 example. just to make sure they're no longer receiving hard coded messages because they've replied to us. It's time to actually get going with the AI message, right? And it doesn't hurt for it to just stick there because obviously it's only going to actually do anything as far as remove them from 1.1 on the first go around. Every other time, Go High Level is just going to read that and be like, okay, we've already done this, or the lead doesn't exist in there, and it'll just continue to move on. It's not going to break anything. Okay, cool. So what we're going to do now, before we even move on, is just make sure that make.com successfully able to listen. So we're going to save this. We're going to flip the switch on. We're going to click immediately save. Yes, yes, that's all good. Cool. So I'm now going to quickly load my contact within Go High Level, and we're just gonna parse it through, and the phone number is gonna reach out to me, and we're gonna go from there. Okay, so I got my contact loaded in there. Just load your contact, click Run Tests, and then we can actually even watch through the execution logs. We can go back and forth and watch through the execution logs to see the contact going through. So made it new lead. If you notice, right before filming the second take, I realized my contact had the lead booked thing on it just from a previous test I was running. So had to restart that. Ah, shit. Okay, so yeah, my contact's already in the pipeline, so it's saying moving opportunity backwards is not allowed because I'm already in the appointment book section during my test. For you guys, this should fire seamlessly though. And if I check my notifications now, I got a message from scaleagents.io, and it said, I can show you guys here, it said the message we just wrote up together. So at this point, it's like, cool. Hypothetically, let's say I don't reply. It's going to be subject to waiting 9 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and push myself through and run that. We're going to go ahead and move it through right now. And then watch here in a second. I should get a second text message. So I just received that. Let's wait for that to focus. Okay, so you guys can see the substance right there. Cool. Now, and see if I click execution logs and go back, you'll see my little guy is now in the wait stage for the contact reply. So we are about to reply, but before we do so, the whole point of setting this part up, guys, is to prime the contact so make.com can listen and we can receive our first reply. Because as soon as we receive the first reply over on make.com, it's going to automatically load a bunch of information about the contact that we need to use to manipulate to build out the response. So what we're going to do is we're going to click run once. Okay. Now on your phone, guys, I want you to text back anything. So I'll say, hey. So I just texted back. It's kind of blurry, but whatever. I just texted back. So while that's loading up, honestly, the make.com, look, it already received the reply faster than I could even explain. But to show you the logic behind how we got there. So we replied, it got stuck in 1.2, or didn't get stuck, but it went through 1.2 rather. It has that passkey because we just indoctrinated ourselves. And then it shot that webhook off. And we can see that in the execution logs as well. Shot that webhook off. Boom. Now we have that contact information loaded. Check this out. We have the AI context loaded in here as well. We're feeding this to the AI here in a second, so it's fully in the loop on anything that goes on regarding a conversation flow with us, right? Now, what we're gonna do next, honestly, just bear with me. What we're doing next is setting up, it's called a data store, and it's essentially a memory key that allows us to continue to tap into that same conversation. The reason this is so awesome is because if you decide to get advanced, like how I usually set up AI builds for my company, is if you're setting up a stream for SMS, but also setting up one for email, maybe setting one on Instagram or Facebook DMs, you can actually make them to where they're all intermingled. So if someone's emailing you and then they suddenly text you, the AI understands this is the same contact and it has full like scope of the conversation no matter the platform, right? So in order to set something like that up, we need a data store. So there's two data stores we're going to use for this example. The first one is going to be an add or replace record. And this is essentially creating a new record. So you're going to click add. We're going to say YouTube example data store. And then even for the data store structure, we're going to add this like right now on the fly. So we'll say YouTube example data structure. And then we're going to add some specifications. First specification is going to be contact ID. Contact ID is the most significant driver for this entire build. So it has to be fucking required. Put yes. Next is going to be thread ID. Now this thread ID is going to be derived when the AI has the initial message that gets sent. And the thread ID is essentially the running tally of conversations. So if you have 1,000 conversation with leads, you're going to have 1,000 different thread IDs. So this is a way to organize those threads. Save that and save that, right? So now you'll notice contact ID and thread ID here. Now we're going to go ahead and unlink this just for one quick second Because how we need to set this up, guys, is we first need to generate the initial message, and then for any contact that comes through here an additional time, we need to tap in. We don't need to add or replace a record, but we need to update the record or tap into that old record. In this case, we're going to use what's called a search record. So type in data store. We're going to click search record. And this time we can go ahead and do our YouTube example once again. Here, let's just fill in a placeholder for now. We'll just put 9 for now. Okay, cool. Unlink that. So just know this is how we have the two set up at this very moment, right? So we're going to go with the first example of the initial reply, sending it back to GoHighLevel, and then we'll be very easily able to set up the subsequent replies of anything after the fact. So webhook comes in, cool. We're good to go ahead and set up our OpenAI conversation thread. So OpenAI, and then we can do generate response. So you're going to scroll down and we're going to find message and assistant. Okay. So I already have my assistant loaded in here, but if you guys have never used OpenAI before, you guys are not going to have one. So we're going to quickly hop over to OpenAI. So within OpenAI, there's a few things you guys need to do. Assuming you've just made your account, we need to go into settings real quick. You guys need to go into billing. I'm not going to open my billing shit because I don't want you guys to see all that. You need to go into billing though and load up some money on there. You can literally load $5 on there. That's all you're going to need for the sake of setting shit up. And that money will just sit there and continue to be used. Again, this AI generation is a fraction of a cent. After that, you're going to go into API keys and generate an API key and copy that API key. So to quickly show you what that would look like, you go create new secret key. We'll just call this example API key. Project, default project, create secret key. Cool. So we got this key. You're going to copy that. Now, let's say you're building out a new account. You literally just click add because I already have my account here. You're just going to click add. You're going to do YouTube example. I'm not even going to save this. And then you're going to toss that API key there. No organization needed. Save your green light. Now, the next thing I want you guys to do, cool. So we just set that up. I want you guys to quickly go in and literally just generate an assistant real quick. Now we're going to click on dashboard. We're going to click on assistants. Now, you guys aren't going to have any assistants in here just yet. So just click create. And then we'll say YouTube example assistant. And then we'll just put testing here for now. Literally just a placeholder for now. So the reason we need to do this, and it'll autosave. So just click out of the checkbox, it'll autosave. Now going back within make.com. So we've just created a new assistant. So you should see the assistant show up here. And if you don't, just click this button, it'll reload, and then you should see all the live stuff in there. So there's my YouTube example assistant that I can now tap into, right? And so I'm now messaging with this assistant. One thing before I forget, you do not want to use 4.0 just because we have better ones that are disposable. Use 4.1. I don't recommend setting any of this other than what it already is as far as temperature, top P, any of the functions. You can add search files, meaning if you have like a ton of information about a business and you need the AI to know about it, you can have it here to tap into and learn. Otherwise, you can just feed it directly in the system instructions, which is the knowledge base, which we're going to get into a bit because a knowledge base in itself, creating one, is like a whole nother ball game. But don't worry, I'll go over all that. We're going to get there. So as of right now, we have that new YouTube assistant we're tapping into. So yes, the assistant's going to have already like a preface of information about what the substance of the conversation is, but we need to quickly feed this message that we're sending to the assistant on the substance of like what the lead has just said, and more importantly, that AI context I told you about. Notice I went 4.0, but it still says 4.0, so we just refresh, and then it should auto update. There we go, 4.1. So what I like to do is put like message channel SMS. I like to specify that just so the AI understands the type of conversation we're having. Because usually if I'm setting up a cross-channel one, I also need to specify if it's email so it understands to build out a proper email formatted response compared to SMS where it's going to be more back and forth conversational. So here we're going to put user reply, or actually even before user reply, we'll put AI context. And then over here within webhooks, we're going to type in AI context example. So this is that custom value or custom field we created. So click that. And then now we're going to do user message. And we're going to go find that as well. So type in user Use reply example. So remember, I texted hey. If we go back on SMS, I texted hey. So that's there. So, oh shit. Let's go and toss that there. That's literally all we need to feed to our assistant at this point. One final thing, just to make sure, I like to go advanced settings, just to make sure all of this is nullified. We don't need any of this filled out. So, okay, we're good there. Make sure model is blank too. Sometimes it'll try to tap into other models, but see, like, yes, 5.2 is great, but assistance right now is only working off 4.1, so we have to stick with 4.1. So just leave this blank. It'll auto default to using the one we have hard coded within OpenAI. Awesome. Save this. Now, next thing that's going to take place. Cool. We just generated our reply with AI using our knowledge base. So now this is going to go through. It's going to intake that message from the user. It's going to spit out a reply. Now, before we pitch that back off to GoHighLevel, we're going to quickly load the information on this brand new contact so we can remember them for the next time. So we're going to type in contact ID and literally just append contact ID where it's supposed to go. Boom, right there. Thread ID. So thread ID is something automatically generated by OpenAI every time you start a brand new conversation. So if you don't tap into a conversation previously, it's automatically going to generate a new response. I've seen so many people that come to me when they're setting up builds and like, hey, my AI keeps starting over conversations. I don't know why. It's usually because they don't have a running tally of conversation history. So we're going to do thread ID and save that. And just to show you what I mean, over on this initial node, you'll see thread ID here. So you'll notice on the next section, we're going to tap into that thread ID. But since this is a fresh lead, it's blank here. And that's important. Okay, cool. Generated the reply. We've saved that brand new contact. We are now green light to pitch that back over to GoHighLevel. Super straightforward, guys. So find the GoHighLevel node. We're going to click Update Contact. Now, once again, if you don't have GoHighLevel synced up, they actually make it crazy easy. Just click Add. You can do either or. I usually do 2.0. And then when you click Save, it should open up an immediate pop-up. So this will happen if you are already open. I don't want to show you guys sensitive information, but it'll automatically open a new browser. If you are already signed in, literally on another browser within your same account, it should automatically sign in. You're good to go there. So just make sure you have GoHighLevel signed in on another tab, and you should be green light to sync that up. I obviously already have an account set up on here, so we're gonna be running with that one. And now, a couple things we need to add in order to pitch that AI generated response back over to GoHighLevel so that we can facilitate it and send it via SMS to the contact. And then from there, it's going to be ping ponging back and forth between our 1.2 and we're going to build a 1.3 to shoot the reply off. But then it's going to ping pong back and forth between that and make.com. So contact ID. So we're going to re-add that same contact ID, and this allows us to organize where the reply is supposed to go to what contact. That, and then the last thing, if you remember, there was 3 custom fields we set up. We set up one for user reply, we set up one for AI context, and we set up one for an AI response. So this is where we load the conversation that the AI is having, or like the response flow rather that the AI is giving us. So we need to quickly search through here and find it. I want to click refresh because I'm not seeing my custom field loaded in here just yet. Okay, here we go. I was on a different GoHighLevel account. AI replied to lead example. It took a fucking minute, but I found it. Okay, so this is where we load the OpenAI response. So we're gonna go back to OpenAI. It's called result. All result means it's the substance that gets generated from OpenAI. Save that. Save that. So what I'm gonna do now, guys. So now that all that's saved, make sure everything's on and live. Hell, we can even click run once. So at this point, I'm gonna send another text message. I'm gonna say, hey, and we're actually going to get a reply back this time. Now, there's nothing loaded in the knowledge base because all we have in the knowledge base is testing. So the AI is not going to really say anything because we haven't constructed a brain, but it's going to speak nonetheless. So I just texted back, hey, send a double text. So look, got that webhook received. ChatGPT is now creating a reply for me, and it may take a minute. Times vary, and then we updated that data store, pitched it back over to GoHighLevel. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So now this all this information, the ball is in GoHighLevel's court. You'll notice if you're following along to a T, you'll notice you didn't get a reply yet because we have to set up the reply output and then you've got a fully closed loop system. So let's not waste any time and let's fucking get into it. So we're gonna go back over here. We're gonna create a new workflow called 1.3 this time around. 1.3 AI reply to lead. Boom. So so the trigger here is going to be contact up. Contact has changed. Now, if you remember, over on GoHighLevel, so this is our contact. So all these custom fields, GoHighLevel is able to scan to see if any of them ever change, right? So each time we have a new result in here, it's going to load new words. And so GoHighLevel is going to be able to read that and understand that this contact field just changed. So that's going to be our driver. That's going to be our trigger. So we're going to click add filters and we're going to type in this exact AI reply to lead example. So AI reply to lead example, and we're going to put has changed. And that's now our driver. So I always include an if else statement to make sure that this lead indeed meets our passkey. So we're literally just going to call this a passkey. And contact details tag includes example YouTube tag. So we know that we're green light to send a message to them. And then within here, SMS, we can shoot off the message. So within GoHighLevel, remember, just to reiterate, so we're on the same page, AI reply to lead example is the custom field, and we've just appended this AI message onto this custom field. So we're now able to tap into that and literally get GoHighLevel to regurgitate the substance of that message, and it'll accurately spit out exactly what make.com was just saying. So AI reply to lead, boom. Save action, save, there we go. Okay. So this is like a very, very basic way of doing things. Now, there's one more thing we're going to do next. We're going to add a tag here. And this tag is going to be our driver to differentiate between a fresh lead and an old lead. So we're going to call this webhook. And you can call it whatever the hell you want. I'm just going to call it webhook, right? And so if you can imagine now, we have just sent off the first reply. Then and only then the contact will receive this webhook tag. And the reason why is because we're going to set up a filter to scan to see if a contact is existing or not within make.com based on the existence of or based on the presence of this webhook tag, right? All that to say, we can go ahead and set that up now. So set up filter, condition, and then we're going to do tag. So see right now, tag, there's no webhook. So, and this will show all of the tags, by the way. Let's say you have like a billion tags on one contact. You can still filter for individual tags. So I like to do equal to case insensitive. So it doesn't matter if it's upper or lower. Actually, sorry, we're not going to do not equal. It's does not contain. Yeah. That's what we got to do. So does not contain case insensitive webhook. And now we're going to go and we're going to tap into this data store again that we had already made. And so it automatically builds a router. That's perfect. So we're going to set up a filter here. And it's quite literally the opposite of what we had just done. So tag. So instead of does not contain, we're going to do contains insensitive. And this contains webhook. So that is a clear differentiator now between a fresh conversation where we have to create a new data store with that contact and every other conversation after the fact or any other reply after the fact, we need to tap into that old data store, right? So we're going to set up that old data store now in order to tap into it. So we're going to do contact ID exists. Now this is always met because in order for a webhook to come through here, they have to come with that GoHighLevel contact ID, right? And so we're going to add an and rule. And we're going to say and contact ID is equal to case insensitive, the contact ID that we have existing within our webhook. And this just makes sure that we are searching for the exact record that exists based on this contact ID that just came through. And we're essentially checking our library, finding that same contact ID, they equal to each other, and we're able to purge that exact record. And then what we do is we tap into another OpenAI node, again, messaging an assistant. You guys at this point have already tapped into your GoHighLevel or to your OpenAI account. You already tapped into your assistant, so just call that same assistant. We're going to go ahead and put a 1 here because what we're going to do next, we're going to go back to our old assistant, the original one, literally just copy this over, and it'll also copy the custom fields, don't worry. And then go back over to our message and then paste that. Awesome. The only difference now, guys, is we are adding the thread. So look, the search record, that's the one we just added. It purges that specific context. So we now have that thread ID. So you just add thread ID here, and OpenAI is now able to tap into that pre-existing conversation that's been had. That's the only difference between the two. And so we've now just set up a successful channel, right? Also, just make sure that if we click advanced, just make sure that the model is blank. Awesome, we're good to go. And then nothing changes with the Go High Level node. It's another update contact. So we're going to do update contact. Got to move over to my other account. And then we're going to type in contact ID here. Boom. And then we're going to hot search and find AI reply to lead. And once more, we are going to type in result. Now, you may be wondering, okay, Scott, is this tapping into the result from above or below? Anytime in make.com you go through a chain, it's only allowed to call subsequent parts, or it's only allowed to call previous nodes. So it's implied it's that this go high level is calling this result, or this OpenAI is calling this thread. It's never going to even present these as an option because that's in a different channel, so to speak, right? So at this point, guys, our make.com scenario is fully set up. You can go ahead and save. We did a bit of troubleshooting with our contact just now. So what I want you to do is either delete your contact and re-add yourself, or go into your contact and just make sure that all of your tags are removed, because we're now going to start from scratch. I want to show you guys, just so we fully troubleshoot, a simulation of the AI starting a conversation and then the lead replying for a second time, and then just to show you how it'll go up above now that it has that webhook tag, and it will have, all those subsequent messages that take place, and then we're able to track the message context. All right, so I just did. Okay, so I just purged my contact. So we're gonna go back in here and we're gonna cook some things up. I just noticed also my contact got stuck in limbo here. Uh, let's go ahead and edit this. Technically speaking, this wait stage is necessary for the follow up, but it's honestly there's no point on just waiting to update the pipeline. So what we're gonna do, just copy confirm. Literally just gonna go through and on the left hand side, delete all the instances of the quick wait stage. Just because I'm trying to set up a clean build for y'all. You know how it is. Boom, boom, boom. All right. So save that. All right. So I just re-invoked my contact into here. Just received that text message once again. So I'm honestly just gonna leave this on screen while I do this next part. So execution logs. You got to do this to refresh the screen. So you see that wait stage in there, and you'll see here in 1 second we're gonna get an additional reply. There we go. So now if we update execution logs once more, so we're waiting in here. So for the sake of your guys' benefit, we are now going to click run once, and I'm going to text it to pull it out of this workflow and start that conversation. So I just texted it, hey. So here any second now, we should see the webhook get sent. Perfect. Just got sent. Generating that first reply. Notice it got hit with this filter because we didn't have the webhook tag. Got shot off to go high level. So the 1.3 workflow now just shot off a message to me. Now the substance of the message as of now is going to be kind of bullshit just because the AI has nothing to go off of. Like it just said, great, thanks for getting back to me. Just to be sure I'm pointing you in the right direction. What are you interested in about X offer? Looking for personal use. It's essentially just pulling shit out of its ass because we haven't given it substance yet. So one last thing I'm gonna do now is we're gonna do run once, and I'm gonna say I want more info. So I just texted that off. It'll okay, and then we're gonna see here in a second. It's gonna pick up that reply and continue that conversation. And see, notice the webhook tag is added. So it went to that top section, tapped into the data store because this is a pre-existing contact. AI is generating the reply, pitching it back off to go high level. And we'll see that reply show up here now, here in a second. Boom. So cool. We now have a functioning AI build, guys. Now all it comes down to is getting advanced with it. If you stayed in this video, I'll show you how I do some of my builds because this is awfully elementary because I want this to be user friendly so you guys actually can, get some fucking value out of this. That being said, if you do want to get access to all of my builds and a full network of fellow AI entrepreneurs, I actually have my own community where instead of building out these, I give you a full comprehensive list of all the different builds that I do. We also do live weekly calls and there's a Q&A chat. You could also hit me up directly. And honestly, the main benefit is that there's over 30 students in there right now, and we all kind of ping pong ideas off one another and learn from one another. And I really try to promote you guys to collaborate and work together. We're building the AI mafia right now on the back end. So if you're interested in a network of fellow AI entrepreneurs, I'm going to leave a link to that down below right now. It's only $197 a month to join right now. We recently just upped the price. So if you join now, you'll get grandfathered in at that price. So again, a network of fellow people that are in your same industry or people that are moving, at a higher level than you, it's invaluable to learn from them. So anyways, back to this build. So another thing you can do within the workflow section of Go high level is you could set up a follow up now. Because what if they don't reply to that AI conversation, right? What we would do then is we could go into the 1.3 section. Go into the 1.3 section and then we'll add to workflow and we'll add it to a brand new workflow and that'll be like a follow up limbo wait stage. So let's say the contact doesn't reply to that AI message after 24 hours. We'll shoot another webhook off to AI and be like, hey, lead hasn't responded. We'll update the AI context, but hey, this follow up. So I'm going to very, very quickly run through that just so we don't waste any time. Okay, so there's no trigger in this one because we're going to add to workflow and we'll put a wait stage. Okay, so let's say you're doing 24 hours. 24 times 60 is 1,440. So we'll do 1433 just for the sake of it being kind of an obscure number. Definitely add this time filter so we're not setting follow ups at an inappropriate time. 8:15, 5 p.m. Sure. And then we'll do update contact and we'll do, what was it, like example context, and we'll do this is a follow up. You know, definitely elaborate on that, but for the sake of this, guys, we're just gonna put this as a follow up. Then webhook, boom, boom. Go back over to our webhook. We're gonna copy that, mama. We're gonna paste that here. And that's all you need. And you've now just built yourself a follow up. I guess one last step. Let's go to 1.3 and do add to workflow. So essentially, guys, what's going to happen is every single time now the contact, every single time we message the contact, they're going to be subject to getting put in that wait stage. So we're going to do add to workflow, and then we're going to do 1.4. Shit, of course I have a billion 1.4s in here. Okay, it was this one. SMS reply example and save that. So now we're going to constantly shoot them in here. So I will say at this point, it will set up a bit of an infinite feedback loop. And because of that, for a lot of the advanced builds that I'll do, I usually set up like delineators. So we have three phases of follow ups. So they can only go into that phase once, and then they'll be subject to the next phase once, the next phase once. For the sake of this video and it being elementary, though, that's kind of how you set that up. 1.4, and then we're going to go to our reply here example. So in the 1.2 section, we're removing them from opt ins and replies. And we're doing this because let's say the lead does reply to us. We need to reset the clock, reset the timer on that follow up sequence. Otherwise, they're going to be stuck in there and still get hit with follow ups, right? And you know what? I'd hate to leave you guys hanging. So, to show you how to set up the delineator on the follow up series, so let's go tag. So, we'll say follow up one, for instance, or hell, follow up. Cool. So then what you can do, so we set follow up one. So now let's say 1.4 is forever the follow up, like the follow up one section. You can duplicate this. We're going to call this 1.5 and say follow up two webhook, right? Literally nothing to edit within this workflow because it existence in itself is already perfect. Hell, if you want, you could put follow up two on there and then save that. So now you can go through two phases of follow up and then it'll cut off. So after two follow ups have been had, if the lead's still not replying to us, it is what it is. At the very least, it's now not an infinite feedback loop. And so what we'll do here is tags includes example, passkey. Cool, that's fine. I always like to have that passkey. We can set up a new if else statement. Um, normal reply. So now here we'll just put normal reply. Tags does not include follow up. And so this is essentially for any time like when we're initially having a conversation with the lead, that follow up tag has never been shot off because they've never not replied to us within a 24-hour window. So the next thing we'll do is duplicate this and we'll do follow up one. So if you remember in 1.4, we just added follow up as the driver or the tag that gets added as the webhook gets sent. Meaning once the contact comes back, it has that follow up tag. So we now know this is follow up one. Why is that important? Because we're going to add it to a new workflow for the follow up two now, right? So copy all actions from here. We're still shooting off that follow up. Honestly, you technically at this point wouldn't have to add this here because webhook is already added off that one. But we're changing this follow up to follow up two, or this add to workflow to follow up two. So cool, normal reply. Okay, we send our first follow up, and now we're going to put them in the second follow up section. And then we can go here, follow up two, and then follow up two, we'll put follow up 2 tag, and they'll get thrown in here. And the idea is after 2 follow-ups now, we'll stop sending them to the leads so we don't annoy them or don't spam them. Of course, if they ever reply, then we just continue the conversation. That's gonna be kinda how to go about that. So, a couple more things we're gonna do now. In the follow-up section, under add tag here, we need to add that follow-up to tag so that it drives into the follow-up to accordingly. Now, what I recommend doing, so what we just set up now is to where the contact literally gets 2 follow-ups max forever. But obviously, you may need multiple stages of follow-ups. So how you can get around that is after follow-up 2 takes place, we're gonna remove contact tags. We're gonna remove follow-up 1 and follow-up 2 because if they just got shot off, so we've already retired the lead at this point. And honestly, here I just realized. So we've already retired the lead. So add that here. Sorry, I keep saying I just realized because I'm doing this off the dome for you guys. So we don't need this add to workflow because this is re-adding to the workflow. And just like I said, it would just build an infinite feedback loop at that point. So we're deleting that. So we're sending that message off. Cool. We sent follow up 1, sent follow up 2. So if you can imagine, we sent normal reply. We added them to 1.4. They never replied to us. 24-hour later, we shoot off follow up 1 and they now get added to 1.5. 24 more hours later, or to whatever time interval you decide to set, they still don't reply. They'll be thrown in follow up 2. And we remove all the tags. However, let's say after 2 phases of follow ups, they get back to us. Okay, cool. We are going to essentially restart that 2-part follow up series from scratch each time that we go through 2 follow ups. So, this is honestly a more bulletproof way to do it. I recommend doing that. And now one more cheeky thing while we're here, just to kind of show you guys, really how you can get neat with these builds. We're going to set up something called a call proposed. So if you remember in the pipeline, guys, I had you set up a call proposed section. And essentially, this is when the AI is going to be presenting the booking link for the lead to go and book in a call or shoot off whatever URL. It doesn't have to be call proposed. It could be whatever sales objective you have. I usually like to do call proposed, though, of course, right? Because we're booking sales calls here. We're trying to make some money. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up to where GoHighLevel scans to see if that URL link exists somewhere in the substance of the message. Because the AI that we're going to teach it here in a second is going to be pitching off these messages, and so it may contain the URL. So we're going to scan to see if it exists. So in order to do that, we're going to go contact details, scroll, and find your AI reply node. Let's see if I can hot search for it. Reply. Perfect. AI reply to lead contains. Now, this isn't it perfectly contains in the sense that, like, if it exists in a substance of a massive message. So let's say you have 1,000 characters and it contains like 8 favorable characters that we're looking for, it's going to pass this criteria. So we'll say example url.com. So add your booking link here. That's what I'm telling you guys to do. And this is the same booking link we're feeding to the AI, right? Another pro tip. So GoHighLevel scan. So when you have an if else statement, GoHighLevel scans in sequential order to see if it satisfies the criteria. Meaning it's going to start with normal reply 1, then it's going to start with call proposed, and then follow up 2, follow up 3. Now, because of that, and just bear with me for a second because sometimes it can be a little challenging to get your mind around this, but we need to make sure that all of the criteria is successfully set. Meaning, normal reply is only really going to take place off of an initial follow up. However, when you really think about this, a lead could have gotten one follow up before, and we're still having conversations with them, and so it could be kind of screwing up the normal operations of things. So what we do is we put all of the hard criteria before the normal reply, and especially if you see some of my advanced builds, normal reply always comes last because we need to essentially set up all the variable criteria beforehand. So call proposed is included in that. So now what it's searching for to see does so I'll save this real quick before I get ahead of myself. I don't want to confuse you guys. Okay. So now if you can imagine a contact comes through here. First, we're going to see, does it contain follow-up? Does it contain the follow-up message? Okay, it does. Cool. It's going to go in there. If it doesn't, next we're going to say, okay, does it contain follow-up 2? Right? And now that I'm thinking about it, so we have to include an and here if we're doing a 2 follow-up series. So we're going to do doesn't include follow 2. Boom. So does include 1, does not include 2. Okay, cool. It's going to go in 1. But if it does include follow-up 2, it's going to go in here. However, let's say it includes example URL. And then honestly, there's one more thing we're going to do just to quickly like fully bulletproof this build, guys, is we're gonna copy this remove tag action because the only instance we really need these tags is to parse through here. But for the sake of a normal reply in the long term, we can't have this follow up tag be a long term tag that's associated. Meaning, this is a temporary tag. If you remember in the 1.4 and 1.5 sections, we're adding it, shooting the webhook off, getting the reply. Cool, remove the fucking tag. Because we have drivers that are adding it to the workflow. But for the sake of the normal reply now, does not include follow up. So we know this is a normal reply because these follow-ups are very temporary tags that will only last like a few seconds, a couple minutes, give that reply off, and then we're good to go. And that will allow it to where when we do have a call proposed and it does have that example URL link, it doesn't matter about these fucking follow-up tags because they don't exist anymore, right? So we're clicking to see, okay, booking link doesn't get sent. Okay, whatever. Must be a normal follow-up then. So that's kind of the sequential order of things. I know I got a little bit carried away there, but that's the idea behind it. Now, what's cool about the call proposed section too is that now that we have the context of the sales call being proposed, this is a hot lead in the sense that they had enough substance, enough conversation with our AI that they got the booking link. So we maybe want to send them a more aggressive follow-up. So what you could do then is set up a 1.6 node and make that like a 2-hour wait stage. This is something I'll do sometimes for builds, like a 2-hour wait stage. Again, maybe like 123 minutes just to kind of be obscure as far as time intervals are concerned. And we're going to send off that message because we really want this lead to pull the trigger and book in because they're still in the conversation workflow. Once they book in, we need to remove them from all workflows because they shouldn't be receiving follow ups, of course. But, anyways, I'm not going to set that up, but you can imagine you set up a 1.6, literally just duplicate one of the past ones and set the time interval to however much you want, right? So I'll leave that add to workflow here for you guys' benefit, but just understand that this should be like a 1.6 2-hour follow up on hot lead. Simple as that. Cool. So we're going to get that going. And then, so going back to our pipeline side of things, we need to update our pipeline on the fact that the call has been proposed, baby. Boom, boom. Save that. Okay. We have pretty much done everything we need to as far as the build is concerned. I'm going to quickly set up the calendar. I know I keep talking about that damn calendar, so I'm going to get that out of the way. In the rest of this video, we're going to be building an AI knowledge base, which is the brain, the substance of like, the AI conversation. And then from there, it's really just about testing, guys. So I'll put like 1.6. I know I already called 1.6 for the sake of that, so we'll put 1.7, but I know there's no 1.6 in my build, but 1.6 would be like the call proposed 2-hour follow-up. Okay, cool. So whatever your calendar is, of course, that's going to be the driver here. That's not rocket science. So Callan, what is it? Booked, customer booked appointment. Cool. In calendar, and then choose between your calendars. So I'm actively using all these calendars, so I'm actually not going to create this because I don't want it to fuck with my automations. But add your calendar here, guys. Click save, and then you have your trigger that's in here, right? So the first thing we're gonna do before anything is we're gonna remove them from all workflows except current workflow. That's it. Remove them from everything. Well, that's not it, but that's a significant step, right? So now they'll be pulled out of all the follow-up series, they'll be pulled out of all the conversation. Next thing we need to do, because technically speaking, the AI can still have that conversation. We just quickly pulled them out of the follow-up series. And then another way you can actually make sure that we're not sending follow-ups. I'll show you how to do that here in a second. Instead of a tagging filter. So I usually like to tag my leads here. Hell, let's go ahead and do that now. I like to tag my leads that the lead is indeed booked in, and so we can make sure that the leads aren't getting follow-ups if you set up an if else statement for that as well. So we'll say lead booked, boom, lead book tag. So we're able to track that. So now we can do an update contact field, and then we're gonna do example. So just our context again, and we're gonna say like the lead has just booked in, no longer try to appointment set them. The substance of this conversation is now acting as an FAQ point of contact. Use it, say something like that. Elaborate if you want, just so the AI understands that we've already satisfied that objective of booking the sales call, and that we're just having a mere conversation now if they have any questions. Right? Update the pipeline to appointment booked, and bam, you now have that whole flow set up. Now what you can do is get cheeky and set up what's called an indoctrination flow. I actually have like an entire video on it. I think I'll leave it here right now. It depends what the editor decides to do. Otherwise, go check my page, and I've likely recently posted that as far as the sequential order of my posts are concerned. It shows how to increase your show up rate, and I have this whole entire like masterclass video showing like a proper workflow to confirm the booked appointment and make sure the lead is actually going to show up, right? So if you can imagine, it's like, hey, contact, thanks for booking. Obviously, don't do this, but like, here's the meeting time. What I mean by obviously don't do this is obviously don't be this like bland, but then you click appointment, start date time. So you're like, hey, here's your meeting time. Be like, here's the meeting location, and then you can drop the link to like the Google Meets or whatnot. Where's that meeting location? And then from there, you could set up wait stages. The wait stage will be for an event or time. Let's say 1 day out, we now text them a reminder and be like, hey, 24-hour out till your meeting. So you can imagine you can set 2 hours, you can set like whatever follow up you want. I'm not going to go into much detail on that anymore just because I have a whole nother video on it. But that's the idea behind that. So that will also successfully pull the leads out of this flow, update the context so the AI now understands, okay, cool, this is a booked lead. We're just going to act as a point of contact, right? And then one last thing, just to make sure we have a bulletproof build so you guys can actually take this and run with it. Let's set up an if else statement on all these wait stages just to make sure that if the lead booked in, they should not be in here. So not booked. It doesn't have to say not booked, but I'm just naming it for you guys' benefit. So tag does not include lead booked. Simple as that. Tag does not include lead booked. And then we're going to do that same thing over in 1.5. And then if you did end up making a 1.6 for your call proposed, of course, you're going to do that here as well. So if else, lead not booked. Okay, perfect. So your build is completely set up. The AI is now fully conversational. It's capable of a 2 follow-up series that will continue to go. If the lead stops replying, follow-ups get hit, and the lead continues to reply, it'll reset the clock on the follow-ups, but it will not be a running infinite feedback loop. So the very, very last step, and again, this is a whole nother ball game, but setting up an AI knowledge base. So what an AI knowledge base is, it's the brain of the AI. So typically if I'm doing an onboarding meeting with one of my clients, I usually set aside like an hour or two in which I'm just hammering them with questions. I'm recording the whole meeting, and because I've got to turn around and build an AI appointment setter on this, right? I have to build out an entire knowledge base. So I often tell my clients like the more information you can give me the better. So when it comes to you guys setting up your own AI knowledge bases, especially if you don't know what you're doing, but hell, I know what I'm doing and I still use ChatGPT for this. Or you can use Manus, whatever AI software you got, it doesn't matter. But you're going to tell it, hey, I'm building out an AI appointment setter knowledge base. I need your help constructing it so it's digestible and be like, my objective is booking in a sales call. Here is all my business information. And then just feed it like a fuck ton of information about your business, right? So just to kind of show you guys an example of that, we're going to type in a prompt here. So this is what I've created. So I'm building an AI appointment setter knowledge base to conversate with my leads that come from my ad campaign, and we want to attempt to book them on a sales call. This should be a human-like conversation on SMS back and forth with leads. Must be capable of handling FAQs, objection handling, blah blah blah. Here's my booking link. Make sure to give it the booking link, and then here's extensive information about my business. Now I want you guys to give it any websites you have, any documentation you have, any calls. The more information, the merrier at this stage. So I've actually already got like a AI that knows like my entire business, Scale Agents. So I'm literally just gonna paste the synopsis it just gave me. So what is Scale Agents? It's a done for you AI systems and growth infrastructure partner for high ticket businesses that need qualified appointments at scale, not just more leads. Anyways, so blah blah blah. We're now gonna shoot this off. Now, don't expect a perfect knowledge base first go around. In fact, a big part of what I do in my business model as part of my service delivery is I call it stress testing, where I have that knowledge base. Cool. I load that bitch onto OpenAI and I conversate with the AI like front hand with SMS. Or nowadays, I have developers that help me out with the stress testing because it can be a bit of a grueling task, but it's an important one nonetheless. In which case, you find all the flaws in the knowledge base, and maybe there's some AI response flows that are unfavorable that you want tweaked. You then turn around. I highly recommend continuing to have like a tab open with the AI, the same AI that you built out your initial follow up sequence with, or your initial AI appointment setter sequence with, and then basically come back to be like, hey, I just got this conversation, copy and paste the conversation. It went really shitty. We need to change this, or hey, it's being too aggressive, or hey, it's sending this link inappropriately. We need to ask these questions first. Or if you have some qualification questions you need the AI to get through prior to even proposing the call, of course, make sure that's included in the knowledge base. So, like, how much money are you making? What's your business? Like, what are you struggling with? Things like that, right? Essentially, what you'll do is go back and forth with ChatGPT, and you'll slowly but surely fine tune like a really clear cut AI appointment setter knowledge base. And each time you go through a testing phase, it's as easy as just copying and pasting it into system instructions. There's nothing to update, nothing to save. It auto live updates into make.com. So each time a new session gets tapped into, it'll understand that the context, it'll understand that the system instructions have been updated with the substance of your knowledge base. And so see, it kinda gave me some extra bullshit, like, "If you want, I can also generate." So what we're gonna do is say, uh, "Give me only this knowledge base, nothing else. Send to me in plain text." So I can copy. I like to ask for plain text because if you don't see all these bolds, when you copy it out, they become asterisks and it just looks ugly. It just adds more jargon than there needs to be. So now check it out. It's spitting me out a brand new knowledge base that fully knows my business model. It's capable of objection handling, handling FAQs. There's tonality in there. We got the booking link, all that good stuff. And again, setting up an AI appointment knowledge base, guys, is a big art form in itself. So, like here, for instance, you'll notice like how it works. So this AI in this instance is generating me like hard-coded responses of what it will say. However, when we go live and actually like use this thing, usually it'll vary both in the wording and let's say the lead asks, "How does this work? Oh, also, what's the price?" The AI isn't gonna like, shit out. It's gonna understand it needs to hit both of these. So it'll build something that's coherent. However, if you don't like the fact that it's hard coded and you want it to be more open query, you can specify, be like, "I don't like that you used so many hard coded responses. We want to reply on the fly based on what they're they're asking. So just ensure in the AI KB. So KB stands for knowledge base, and ChatGPT knows that. Don't worry. To ensure that the AI KB knows not to send hard coded replies off and to personalize them specifically to what the lead is saying." So we're just going to say that just for one fine tune. And if you can imagine, a lot of setting up a knowledge base is going to be going back and forth and sculpting it. You know, AI is smart, but it's very literal. And when it comes to a human like conversation flow, we're still like I suppose in an age where it's hard for AI to get that humanity to it. So we essentially have to artificially construct or sculpt that humanity. This coupled with wait stages, and like I showed, like on some of the wait stages, like we won't text them back until maybe the next day if they text us at 3 a.m. really builds a damn near perfect AI appointment setter flow compared to like a human doing this in the sense that people really think they're talking to a human. So it's funny because like for my business, people know they're talking to AI because I'm an AI company. But when I set this up for clients in which like, they're not even in the realm of AI, leads have no clue that they're talking to an AI and will position it as if it's a team member or as if it's the CEO. So yeah, guys, you literally paste that in there, and you can now turn around, go into all the different automation nodes we set up, and continue to have your conversation with the AI. And anytime you don't like the conversation flow, you can just go in and edit it. One last thing also, because we set up this data store thing with a contact, so it's associated with that contact ID. So if you want to have a conversation from scratch within GoHighLevel, completely delete your contact and re-add a fresh brand new contact. And this will allow for a fresh contact ID. So next time you come through here, we're not going to be tapping into that old contact. We're going to be tapping into a brand new conversation thread because, make.com is perfectly doing its job in the sense that, it's not going to understand that we're continuing to try to simulate new conversations. So it's going to continue to tap into that same data store for that same contact. So when we're doing troubleshooting, delete your contact, re-add yourself, delete your contact, re-add yourself between each session, and you'll get a fresh blank slate AI to conversate with from scratch. All right, I know I went over a ton in this video, and if you made it this far in the video, like big props to you. I can tell, you're serious about learning. If you have any questions, leave a comment below this video. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys may have. And if you guys want to see how I actually go about setting up some crazy ass builds, I'm gonna leave a link down below in which you can get my entire automation stack. So I set up builds on SMS, Instagram, Facebook, email. I give you a full comprehensive list of all the different builds that I do. We also do live weekly calls, and there's a Q&A chat. You could also hit me up directly. And honestly, the main benefit is that there's over 30 students in there right now, and we all kind of ping pong ideas off one another and learn from one another. And I really try to promote you guys to collaborate and work together. We're building the AI mafia right now on the back end. So if you're interested in a network of fellow AI entrepreneurs, I'm going to leave a link to that down below right now. It's only $197 a month to join right now. We recently just upped the price. So if you join now, you'll get grandfathered in at that price.